Now, I think a lot of you out there will come to agree with me that Disney is by far the worst company out there in Hollywood, specifically because of what Bob Iger and the board are doing to all of these major franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, and even some of the Disney animated material that's getting very poor live-action adaptations, hence Snow White 2024, and of course, let's not forget about the up-and-coming Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, and everything that is currently in lockdown right now as they are trying to further their agenda and upping the ante with everything related to diversity. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know that there's a lot of problems arising out of Lucasfilm right now, Kathleen Kennedy, and the whole Lizzo situation is beginning to unravel and get out of control. Now, for those of you that have not been made fully aware, Lizzo was fired by Disney behind closed doors after all the drama that's happening surrounding her. We're not going to touch into that in this video, but we will touch on it later on. But there's a lot of allegations that she's going through right now, to put it short, and a lot of that is something that Disney just could not ignore. And so they moved ahead with firing her from 4 different roles in the Star Wars franchise. So she was going to technically portray 4 different characters in the Star Wars franchise, technically 3 actually, if you don't count the Duchess from Mando Season 3. Now, this is where things get very complicated and what's been happening behind closed doors between Lizzo and the Disney higher-ups. Let's get into it. Now, with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy in the hot seat right now after what happened with Lizzo, Disney has been making significant adjustments to their brand by firing her. However, Lizzo has been creating a very big stir behind the scenes. One major development is that Lizzo is now getting into big arguments with the Disney higher-ups for firing her from Mando Season, of course, 4 and other Star Wars projects, including Dave Filoni's movie, where she was set to portray 3 different Star Wars characters in the Star Wars universe. She is also casting full blame on Kathleen Kennedy for not defending her enough to keep her on the board of course, everything Star Wars, and putting in a good word for her. The ongoing drama at Lucasfilm doesn't seem to stop, with Lizzo creating more problems on hand. Lizzo is reportedly very angry with the Disney board and Bob Iger specifically by dropping, of course, her and also canceling out planned deleted scenes from Mando Season 3 of the Duchess that were set to appear on a special edition slated to release sometime in 2025, featuring never-before-seen footage of Lizzo as the Duchess. This is also being scrapped and creating big arguments between her agent, and the higher-ups over at Disney for making this sudden call. Now, before I get to the next big piece about this, guys, let me just say one thing about Lizzo. She is definitely right up there with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Brie Larson, and yes, even Rachel Zegler. Very egotistical people that really just play the victim and really kind of put people on full blast without having a civil conversation, right? Now, we know that everything related to Lizzo right now is out of control. And basically, it got even worse when that conversation that she did have, I believe it was on a podcast, it got exposed, it really resurfaced. I really can't talk about that here, but we all know what we're talking about. And that's when Disney knew they really could not ignore that. So that's why she was let go from Disney Star Wars. Lizzo, however, feels that there was nothing ever really proven, that she never really said anything wrong, and that's where the problems begin to arise. Honestly, I'm glad that Disney dropped her. I mean, she's nowhere to be fit into the Star Wars franchise. I think that her acting is horrible. I think that her acting is just flat out terrible for the Star Wars universe. And the character, the Duchess, let's face it, it never worked for The Mandalorian Season 3, and that episode was nothing more than a filler episode. I mentioned this yesterday. It was nothing more than a shoehorn to bring Lizzo and Jack Black into the picture. Now, as much as I don't support Jack Black into the Star Wars franchise, at least he was doable, right? He was somewhat doable. As cartoony and nonsense of a situation it seemed like, it was a whole lot better than Lizzo getting shoehorned in there. Now, moving on forward, the fact that Bob Iger and the board are now dealing with this ongoing drama on top of what's going on with Snow White 2024, the failure of Elemental, The Little Mermaid, the closing of Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel next month, the problems never seem to stop for Disney Star Wars and just Disney in general. I mean, I can't believe that this is the day and age that we actually live in, where Disney is actually the #1 company that's dealing with so many issues behind the scenes. Now, moving to the next major thing here is this. Now, Lizzo's problem with Disney is that they moved ahead with her firing after Lizzo's situation held no proof. However, the surface conversation of Lizzo discussing the crude details about something that she did is what sparked controversy among Disney to move ahead with her firing. Bob Iger initiated this to save his image with Disney, and in doing so believed it would actually save the company, and how, of course, people view Lucasfilm. This is, however, creating drama where Lizzo is giving an ultimatum that she may take things further against Disney if things don't come to a resolution, or if Disney doesn't come to their senses to rehire her back for Star Wars and her roles as 3 different characters in the universe. Surprisingly, Kathleen Kennedy has remained very much silent about this behind the scenes. Now, look, this is what I mean by how she's so egotistical. She feels that she needs to be rehired back or else. And that's the kind of situation that Disney's in right now. The fact that they even have to deal with this for more than a week is very damaging. Now, at the same exact time, these are the types of people that Disney always, tends to hire, especially when it comes to Star Wars. They always have a lot of baggage, a lot of tainted backgrounds. I mean, Leslie Headland is another one of them, by the way. We all know who she was a personal assistant for. We all know the truth. And it's just kind of crazy how Disney just kept her on board and did not let go of her. So there is a lot of, hypocrisy in there. There's a lot of elements of Disney being very hypocritical, and elements where Bob Iger just doesn't seem to care in different avenues. But when you look at stuff like this, the fact that now Disney has to deal with this ongoing Lizzo situation, it just brings it up to the next level of absurdity, right? We know that the whole Phoebe Waller-Bridge drama was another thing, and that's something that they had to deal with because of what happened with the Indy 5 box office collapse. The Dial of Destiny was something that made them lose hundreds of millions of dollars and really took a big bite out of their reputation for Lucasfilm as a company. And that really led to a lot of Star Wars cancellations, mind you, be it TV shows or movies. Heck, I mean, they're not even going to be making a lot of announcements for Star Wars at their upcoming event because of everything that happened with Indy 5. So they're really digging themselves a hole that they really can't get out of right now. So I would really love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.